All right. Hello, everyone. Doug here with the LincolnList.com. I welcome you to another weekly edition of Stock Market Mutterings. As I always say, I will promise to take a grope in the murkiness to try to make some sense out of this market, which can be very senseless, let's be honest, and try to share some quality trade setups. Now, over the last few of these, we've had some really good stuff. There's been some really large moving trades that we've had in the room. So some of you guys out there that want some one-on-one trading, you need some help, you want to be part of a community, I'm going to post the link on the screen as I always do. We saw some really big trades, especially out of RH if you're following me on Twitter. I mean, this is a big time mover on back-to-back days. Really, really impressive. And we've seen this sort of tone with these types of stocks. Also, we saw some pretty good trades coming from Roku here, which was pretty good. And I'm doing this actually as the market's still open on Friday because I'm going to the desert to ride my bike. I got to get out of here. And of course the market too. The market as well. I mean, what do you say about this thing? It's got more lives than a cat. I mean, this thing just continues to defy all logic. It looked like maybe in the beginning of the week, we'd start to see some sort of selling that maybe tested some lower prices, kind of nestled into a base, and then we could figure out what our next move was. But the thing this market keeps doing is that when there's a positive trade talk story, this thing just keeps getting tossed around. It's got to be comical for the powers that be that they just keep using this, and they're probably laughing the hell out of everyone going, I can't believe these algos are still biting on all this. But it's like the market rips 300 points whenever there's positive trade talk. When there's negative trade talk, it drops like 25. I mean, that's the market that you're in. And you're just sitting down here on the SPY right here at 308. Looked like you were going to get a little selling, or there needed to be that price discovery as I talked about. Couple of tweets, couple of kudlos, couple of this and that, and bam, here you are. Closing out on Friday with this monster rip on some, basically today's move was mainly about the unemployment and jobs number and all that kind of stuff. So what are you going to do, man? What do you even say? At this point, it's like if you're going to get a pullback, you'll believe it when you see it. This thing just finds a way to just rise. As they say, the cream rises to the top, the SPY rises to the top. And that's all there is to it, I mean, the levels are pretty apparent. You're either going to bust through this next week and go higher, or maybe we test the lows of the month from a few days ago. Remains to be seen. It can go either way, and it can obviously do that in the same day if it wants to. Now, there's been some individual setups here and some individual plays that look pretty good. And then when you're looking at value here in this market and you're trying to pick up the big movers, you want to try to get them at the right price and at the right time. You don't want to just sit here and necessarily have to pay top dollar for everything that's on the books here. And like I said, this RH was a great stock, but I don't think there's much left as far as trading in it. We'll have to see how it operates on Monday. But it's definitely the big winner for us this week. Looking at some things, they're trying to find some things that might have some value for us to where we can capture some multi-day trends. We might want to look at W-Day here. Pretty good setup. The last time you got down into a washout here, the thing spent a good 4 or 5 days rallying about $16, $17. You've got a few tight candles here, a pretty good solid base after its earnings. If it can get a lift here, if you guys can see this, I'm not sure, right here at 168.75's 20-day moving average. If you can just get a little squeeze above that, I think there's a possibility that this thing could trade back up to the 179s over a couple of days. So it might be something to watch. I'm not sure really how it's going to play out. Needs a little work, but it might be something that we could take a look at and see if we can make a few bucks on it. I'm also still interested in the mighty King Baba himself, and I had a trade on this one here today, and it was okay. And the day's not over, obviously, but I'm out of it. It's okay, but I kind of expected a little bit more, but that could be a good thing. It could be a better opportunity on Monday. If you look closely at the daily chart, you've got a pretty good double top right here, and it's just right here where this sits at this 201.30s, 201.50s. Is a pretty good spot here if it closes. It's just going to be slightly above that breakout. As long as this thing doesn't gap up on Monday, there could be a possibility. It would be nice if you got something similar to what you saw on Friday today, where you start out strong in the pre-market and then you flush out earlier into support into these regions. Then you get the swing back later where it kind of rips up. I would like to see that same type of setup, but this time doing that move earlier in the day with a little more volume than what you had on it, with some authority, then I think you could see a pretty solid, strong strong move to probably 205 to 206. So pretty good looking chart right here in BABA. Keep that one on the watch. Now, a couple more here. I'm trying not to say the same names. I mean, there's always a trade in Apple, Netflix, Amazon, Google, who else? Nvidia, Roku, TTD. I mean, those are just all the time. There's something going on in those names, but I want to put a few more on the list that I don't normally talk about. And one would be ADSK. It's right in the wheelhouse of what I like with the price tag. Action's pretty good on this one. I'm expecting this thing to go back up and clean out this 181s and go a little bit higher. It's holding the majority of this ramp up here, this earnings ramp up on the 27th. You've been in a pretty good trend now here for about 3 days. We'd just like to see a good settle in point early on Monday to where possibly this thing moves through 180. And then who knows, maybe by the week's end, you could possibly see 200 on something like this. Has some really nice range in it, some really nice behavior, and a pretty predictable stock. So I want to start watching this ADSK. And then I also want to put up here some, what do I want, EXPE. EXPE. So this one looking pretty good here too, holding up most of its gap that I had a couple of days ago. Needs a clean break of this 109.50. If you can move through 109.50, there's some potential here. The last few days you can see up top here hasn't done a whole lot of anything. It's just sort of trending sideways, not following along with the market. So it needs a little work as well, as does ADSK. So when we're looking at this, I mean, straightforward until things can change. You know, you're just in this situation right now where if it's a non-earnings related or non-hit piece related washout in the morning, and I've been just doing this over and over again, if it's something that starts out the day, I start looking at the bottom of my watch list. I look at the names that are red, the Lulus or sometimes the Rokus when they do it, or Babas like today. They flush down into some support. I look to pick those up on the dip, providing, you know, like I said, it's not an earnings drop. That could be a lot worse. And then just let the market do the rest of the work. It just finds a way. Now, obviously, at some point, this is going to change. And it could be the very next day in the cycle. It could start Monday. I don't know. But it seems like you're not going to get anything. And we've talked about this in a dozen of these market mutterings. Until you get a flush out in the market and it does not get bought back up within a certain period of days, then you could start thinking about a deeper, stronger, more profound correction. Because for the longest time, every single opportunity this thing has, you get maybe 3 or 4 days of a sell-off like you did in August, or a 2 to 3 day sell-off, you know, and that's it, couple percent, 5%, 6%, and then it stops. And not only does it stop, what happens next within a 30-day span is you see yet again another all-time high. It doesn't take long. You know, I can remember trading stocks here where you went, you know, decades between all-time highs, you know, and now you're going just days, you know, it's like singulars. And that's just the way it is. You know, whether you want to sit there or we want to sit there and say it's algos, it's programmed, it's scam, it doesn't make sense. And that's what we got to deal with. And that's the tape. And you got to deal with it, huh? We got to deal with it. Step it up. But anyway, some really good stuff. Some really good trades we saw this week. If you guys need help, feel free to reach out to me, support@thelincolnlist.com. If you just have any questions, support@thelincolnlist.com. Take care of yourself, guys. Trade well. Chat with everyone next week.